Hello and welcome to Global Lens. I'm Parikshit Luthra. These are the top global headlines we are tracking. 2 days to go for the US government deadline to double the tariffs on India to 50%. India's central bank says its $695 billion forex reserves are sufficient to cover 11 months of exports. After US government picked up a 10% stake in Intel, top economist at the White House, Hassett, hints at more such transactions, tells CNBC that the Intel deal is part of a broader strategy to create a sovereign wealth fund and pick up stakes in more such companies. Russian forces intensify attacks in Ukraine's Donetsk, attacks the region 23 times in one day and kill one person. Ukrainian officials say that Russian drone attacks on Ukraine's Kherson also killed one person. Russia accuses Ukraine of carrying out a drone attack on a nuclear plant that caused fire. Let's start with the global market action. It was green across the screen for markets in Asia. Hong Kong's Hang Seng and China's Shanghai soared a whopping 1.5%, leading the gains. Japan's Nikkei and the Korean Kospi also ended mildly higher. A range-bound session on Dalal Street saw the Nifty and Sensex end 0.5% higher, with IT stocks batting for the bulls. Meanwhile, markets in Europe were in the red as investors assessed various economic data. Wall Street opened in the red as well. With only 48 hours to go, India braces itself for 50% tariffs that will impact $48 billion worth of Indian goods. Remember, President Trump has penalized India for buying Russian oil, accusing it of fueling the Russia-Ukraine war. India hit back at the US, calling these measures unreasonable and pointed out that China and US itself imported products from Russia. Officials from India and the US continue to hold talks for a trade deal ahead of the August 27 deadline. This comes after a scheduled visit by US trade negotiators to New Delhi was postponed. Republican leader Nikki Haley urged India to take Trump's stand on Russian oil seriously and said that India must work with the White House to find a solution. Meanwhile, Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal said that India was addressing trade issues with an open mind and a positive outlook. However, India's External Affairs Minister Jaishankar reiterated that India would not compromise on the interests of its farmers. Joining me now to discuss this further is Mukesh Aghi, President, US-India Strategic Partnership Forum. Mr. Aghi, thank you much for joining us. What's your sense? Before the 27th August deadline kicks in, is there any window of opportunity to set it aside?
We are working at it. I think it's important that these secondary tariffs do not come in because it does have an impact on India's exports to the US. It impacts millions of workers in India itself, especially in garment and other industries itself. So it's important that we basically maintain the dialogue open with the White House to ensure the secondary tariffs get postponed while we have a runway to discuss a better trade relationship between the United States and India.
Mr. Aghi, what do you think would work at this stage with the White House?
Well, you have to understand you don't have a normal policy process here. Most of the stuff is being implemented by the president. So it is important that we have a call between the president and the prime minister to basically sort out the misunderstanding. You have to understand that it's not just India, it's Europe, it's China, and United States. They're all buying energy and goods from Russia. So why penalize India from that perspective? So it is important that there is a call which needs to take place to basically sort out whatever the misunderstanding is. So at least the normal relationship, the positive relationship between the two countries continues. I have to say one thing. While the White House is basically talking about the stress point between the two countries, when you come down to the administration, you come down to the business community, you come down to the people itself, we see things, nothing changing. The importance of India is still very important in every aspect, from trade, energy, and geopolitical. So that understanding continues all across the United States.
Absolutely. What do you think in the short term will be the impact on India-US relations, especially business economic ties, if those 50% tariffs were to kick in? Will this practically mean that there will be absolutely no export from India to the US, of those goods which are not in the exempted category? And this is almost $41 to $42 billion worth of exports from India.
Well, it does have an impact. Let's be honest with each other. I mean, so when you put 50% of tariff, the consumer is not going to pay that kind of a price. Importer is going to go look for other destination to import itself. So India will get impacted. But you also have to understand that US is not just the only market for India. I think India will have to de-risk that and look at other alternative destination. It does take time. There'll be disruption, but this is not the end of the world. You have to understand that the demand for Indian goods will continue, regardless if it's US or Asia Pacific or Europe. It's just a matter of time recalibrating, readjusting, and moving on.
Right. Is this just about Russian oil and gas?
No, I don't think it's just about Russian oil and gas. I think it's more than that. You have to understand that the Russian oil is an issue which has been brought in forefront. It is also about the president's desire to win a Nobel Prize and India's position that he did not basically intervene in India and Pakistan's war, which took place for 4 days itself. And I would have advised to government of India is, yes, you don't want third-party intervention, but it would have been much more wiser to basically reach out to the president and the media and say, thank you very much, Mr. President, for basically reaching out to Pakistan, bringing some sense into them, and so you're able to help on the ceasefire itself. So I think you have to sometimes recalibrate the approaches as time changes. If you take your old position and keep on reiterating, that it does not go well. And I think President felt slighted that he's been called a liar in this area. And I think that's where the whole thing started and has moved into the Russian oil, other aspect. I don't think it's too late. I think a call from the Prime Minister will help smooth out things, because I think the interest between the two countries are very, very large and very, very deep also, both from a geopolitical perspective, from an economic perspective, from students' perspective. And we have 5.5 million Indian Americans here. So I think it is important that we don't let this relationship go in a direction that it makes it more and more challenging as time goes by to repair it. I don't think much damage has been done. I think a lot of rhetoric has been going on in the media, and we need to bring that down also to ensure that at least the interest of India is protected. So is the interest of the United States also protected.
You know, a lot can happen in 48 hours and nothing may happen as well. But if you were asked, as someone who leads one of the top US-India industry bodies, what could work things in India's favor? What kind of action could put this 25% additional penalty aside?
Well, I think we have basically reached out to the president and asked him to at least delay the implementation. We need a runway to find a solution between the two countries itself. And it's important that to understand that, yes, the secondary tariff are unjust and they shouldn't be put in. But we can't just keep on going on the media and keep on calling unjust. Let's keep on working and finding a solution. So I think by postponing this by 90 days or 120 days, it's like US has done with China, it will give us a runway to sort things out. But more important is I think a call between the Prime Minister and the President can untie the knot which we have got ourselves into it, so at least both countries can work in a positive manner.
Right. At this juncture, the sense that you get as somebody who's closely in touch with the White House, with the Indian government, does that 50% tariff seem certain?
Well, you know, there's nothing certain in Washington, D.C. nowadays, because what happens is it is decided by one person. 27th morning, he can take a call and say, listen, we will basically delay it further. But, you know, you can't build relationship with nations on a basically a uncertain manner, trying to say tariffs are on, not on. I think you also have to respect India as a nation, as a sovereign country, as a proud country, that you can't treat them in a manner that you're dealing with the smaller countries. India has a larger power, and it kind of aligns its interests with the United States in every aspect. So it is important. And you have to understand when you go to the congressional here, they're very sympathetic to India. You talk to the business leadership, they're very sympathetic to India. When you basically look at the media for the first time, Washington Post, New York Times, they are writing articles which are very, very supportive of India's position itself. So the sentiment all across is positively supporting India, but we just need to basically untangle this knot and deal with the president. And I think that's where the Prime Minister can take a lead and untie this knot.
All right. So we can untie this knot by possibly acknowledging US's role in the ceasefire during Operation Sindoor as well. But do you feel that next few months are going to be challenging? If these tariffs were to come into effect, then all new investments in India will be on hold?
No, I don't think so. You have to understand, I've talked to almost 70 plus global CEOs last 2 weeks. Their interest and investment is not abating in India. They feel India provides them competitive positioning. It provides them efficiency. It provides them market access. So I think from a corporate America perspective, things continues the way they want to. And I think more important is the supply chain. The de-risking from China also continues. That's a consistent message I've got from every corporate leader in America I've talked to. And that is, yes, India is vital to our economic interest. India is very vital for our global supply chain. So I think their investment, their commitment to India continues from that perspective. More important is when you look at moving forward, I think we need to create a certain environment, and the initiative lies with the White House to decide. And yes, if you put 50% tariff, it will disrupt quite a bit of the environment, especially on the exports from India. And I think that's not right for the Indian exporters who have been building this relationship for the last 10, 15 years itself. So we are working to see where we can find the appropriate ground to have a constructive dialogue and find a win-win solution for both countries.
Right. Thank you very much, Mr. Aghi, for joining us on the program on Global Lens. Coming up on the other side, as ties between India and US falter, President Donald Trump has announced his pick for the next American ambassador to India. Sergio Gor, a top MAGA leader and close confidant of Trump, has been nominated for the post. A detailed discussion when we're back. Welcome back to Global Lens. At a time when ties between India and the US remain strained, President Donald Trump has announced his pick for the next American ambassador to India. Sergio Gor, a top MAGA leader and close confidant of Trump, has been nominated for the post. The 38-year-old, who will become the youngest US ambassador to India, is not a career diplomat but a political appointee. Announcing his name, President Trump wrote on social media, and I quote, "For the most populous region in the world, it is important that I have someone whom I can fully trust to deliver on my agenda and help us make America great again." End of quote. Gor embodies the immigrant story that Trump often critiques. He was born in Tashkent, raised in Malta, and later moved to the United States and became a citizen in 1999. He rose in Republican circles as a staffer and fundraiser. He's currently the director of the White House Presidential Personnel Office, which is responsible for vetting and nominating over 4,000 political appointees across the federal government. Gor also ran a political action committee supporting Trump ahead of the 2024 elections. He's a co-founder of The Winning Team Publishing, a conservative publishing house that has released some of Trump's best-selling books. In a rare move, Sergio Gor will also take charge as Special Envoy for South and Central Asian Affairs. And he will be overseeing ties not just with India, but with Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Afghanistan, Bangladesh, among others. Foreign policy experts have flagged that this dual role is another attempt by US to hyphenate India with its neighbors like Pakistan. The ambassador's post was being vacant for over 7 months after Eric Garcetti's term ended. Gor's appointment may help the South Bloc in breaking the ice and reducing tensions between the two countries. However, New Delhi may have to wait for some time. Gor's nomination will first have to be reviewed by the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. The committee may hold hearings before sending it to the full Senate for a final vote. In the past, this process has taken years. In Ambassador Eric Garcetti's case, for example, it took almost 2 years. But before we go into this in detail, Speaking in Gujarat today, Prime Minister Modi said the world is witnessing what he called politics of self-interest in a veiled reference to the US tariffs. Listen in.
दुनिया में आर्थिक स्वार्थ वाली राजनीति सबको अपना करने में लगा है। उसे हम भली भांति देख रहे हैं। देश के लघु उद्यमी हो, किसान हो, पशुपालक हो, हर किसी के लिए मैं आपको बार बार वादा करता हूं, मोदी के लिए आपके हित सर्वोपरि है। मेरी सरकार लघु उद्यमियों का, किसानों का, पशुपालकों का कभी भी अहित नहीं होने देंगी।
What does Sergio Gor's appointment mean for India? Joining us now to discuss this is Kanwal Sibal, former Foreign Secretary and former Indian Ambassador to the US. Ambassador Sibal, thank you once again for being with us here on CNBC TV 18. How do you think Sergio Gor will be for India? Is it something to cheer about or something to be circumspect about?
Well, at the end of the day, he's only the ambassador. Even though United States is the world's biggest power and we have a huge relationship with that country, and the US ambassador is important in terms of our diplomacy with the United States. But he's, at the end of the day, as I said, only a representative of the United States, so we need not give him a larger-than-life image in terms of how our ties are going to be mentioned, because there's so many players in the India-US ties, and the ambassadors do not control the entire dynamics of the relationship, because there are these big corporates that are there. There is the Congress, there is the media, there are the think tanks, there are the academic world. All of them, in their own way, contribute to the relationships. There is the diaspora that we have there. But yes, it's a good thing that an ambassador has been appointed, and it's a good thing in principle that the ambassador is the nominee is close to the president. The president attaches a lot of value to the relationship, as we can see, and if the cards are played properly by the White House and the ambassador, then this can be an asset for us, because we'll have somebody who has a direct line to the White House.
Right.
On the other hand, the concern is that Trump has two concerns, major concerns. One, that Trump is saying that he's appointing him to implement his agenda. Now, his agenda so far has been very difficult for us. And if it is the agenda he has in mind, and if Gore is going to implement that agenda, then we can see problems down the road. Secondly, while announcing this appointment, which is very strange, there's no mention of India, the importance of India, strengthening ties with India, strategic partner, etc. at all. There's no mention of India at all, except that he's being appointed as ambassador to India. And the only reference is to the region that is the most populous region in the world.
Ambassador Sibal, that brings me to my next question. He's also been given charge of supervising South Asia and Central Asia affairs. So in a way, he could be like a super ambassador looking at and overseeing whatever is happening in the region. Is that advantageous for India to have someone in New Delhi whom we can rig up, call to the South Bloc to understand what's happening, express our view, or it could work against us?
I think this is a very odd move. This is the first time that a US ambassador to India has been also made a special envoy for the larger South Asia and Central Asian region. As it is, the India-US relationship is so vast in scope. The ambassador is totally busy with managing the ties between India and United States in their various dimensions. In fact, the most expansive relationship we have with any country is with the United States, covering so many areas, and they've got so many consulates in this country. He doesn't need an extra responsibility to fill up his time. Now, the problem with the designation of special envoy is that they did this with Holbrooke, this AFPAC business, and we rejected this. And we made sure that he was an envoy only to Pakistan and Afghanistan and not India. But now they have brought it in a different way by giving the ambassador this extra hat so that we can't object to it. But what is the meaning of this special envoy for the region? They have ambassadors in this region, in all these countries. They're doing the job. They're reporting to the US government. Why is there a need to have a special envoy sitting in Delhi? It has many implications. And the most problematic implication is that the United States wants to intrude itself into the affairs of the subcontinent in a much more pressing manner, in a much concrete manner. And they don't want to leave the management of the dynamics of this region, political, economic strategy, to India as the principal power in the region. Now, if he's a special, and then of course the worry is that Trump is very keen to mediate between India and Pakistan to solve the Kashmir issue. Now, if he's a special envoy to the region, I don't think Central Asia is a matter of concern. It's actually Pakistan and the related issue of Pakistan-Afghanistan relationship, which he also wants to be able to settle because he has announced investments in Pakistan and he wants those investments to be secure. For that, he needs stable, peaceful ties in the region, which means pressure on India that we must settle our issues with Pakistan and then bringing Pakistan and Afghanistan closer. In other words, he's batting for Pakistan.
Right.
He's looking more at the interests of Pakistan than, in a sense, the relationship with India.
Ambassador, another question about his political affiliations. Now, sources have told us that he's someone who's right in the middle of Trump's inner circle. Very, very close, very, very loyal to President Trump, which can be good for us also in a way. But what does this actually say about his political and diplomatic acumen? He's only 38. By the time he takes over, he'll probably be 39 years of age. He'll be taking up this job at a time when US-India ties are at an all-time low.
Well, you know, the fact that he's 38, 39 is not a disqualification. After there are people who have become presidents of the United States in the early 40s. And you have the example of the president of France. And there's so many world leaders who become prime ministers or president at a very young age. And he's only an ambassador. He's not the core of policy making. So I don't think we can hold the age against him. He'll have a lot of energy, obviously. And the fact that he's very close to Trump means that he can influence by giving the right kind of advice to Trump about the attitudes in India, feelings in India, priorities of India, concerns of India, and hoping, therefore, to mellow a little bit what Trump is doing. It can happen. But on the other hand, he's an extreme loyalist. He's absolutely embedded in the MAGA base of Trump. Now, his personal inclinations may actually be to implement fully what the president's priorities are, which may be a problem for us. But let's see. These are very early days. When he comes here, he will size the situation. He'll see how he's going to handle himself. And if he does things which don't please us, then he'll find that he'll have a problem in making a success of his tenure here. And no ambassador wants to be a failure. He would like to make his tenure successful so that he can build up his career further. If he goes away on the basis that he has failed in his mission, it doesn't add to his career. So these are all these complex things that one has to take into consideration. We should not unnecessarily panic or anything.
Absolutely.
And
one of the early tasks he would have is to organize a successful and fruitful Trump visit to India, something that President Trump is happy about and can showcase to his political constituency as well. Thanks once again.
That I don't know. I don't think this Quad summit will be held in October as was being planned.
Yeah.
Because
I meant, sir, whenever Trump's visit happens in future, that's what I was talking about. But I've unfortunately run out of time today, but it's always a pleasure having you here on Global Lens and CNBC TV 18. On Final Cut this evening, Israeli forces continued to pound Gaza. Israeli forces attacked the Nasser hospital in Khan Yunis in southern Gaza. At least 20 people have been killed, including 5 journalists from Reuters, the Associated Press, Al Jazeera and others. A photographer was also wounded. We leave you with these visuals. Thank you for watching Global Lens.